Over the years, I have both bought and sold a ton of used dive gear, so I thought I'd make this week's video about the scuba diver's guide to buying pre-loved equipment. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Divers Ready. My name's James. As always, so great to see all of your smiling faces. If you're new to our channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. We make videos with one simple goal in mind, and that's to help make you the best scuba diver you can be. Now, regular viewers of this channel will know I usually host a spring cleaning silent auction to sell off some dive gear I'm just not getting any use out of anymore. I liquidate some excess gear, it gives me a little bit of cash, I make space. Some of you guys get a great deal on a new to you piece of kit. I haven't done one yet this year because honestly, I don't have too much that I want to get rid of right now. The dive locker is pretty much under control. But if you are shopping for deals on your next piece of kit, the second-hand market can be a place to make your dive gear budget stretch a little further. There are, of course, some pitfalls that I want to help you avoid, especially in the scuba diving market where most items are high ticket. Scammers and scumbags abound. Buyer beware. Let's dive into it. So right off the bat then, number one, beware of scammers. I saw an ad the other day on Facebook Marketplace. It was something like, lightly used shearwater Perdix 2, $500, only 10 freshwater dives. I didn't like it. Really? You didn't like it? Really? So I'm selling it for half of what a new one costs. Friends and family only. Jog on, sunshine. Are you kidding me? I clicked the link to the bio of the person selling, and of course they had joined Facebook 2 months ago and had 0 friends and 0 connections. Not suspicious at all. If I was going to sell my Perdix 2 right now, and I'm not, but if I was, with a couple of hundred dives on it in relatively good condition, a fair market price would be $850, I believe. If a deal sounds too good to be true, it is. So don't be tempted by these scumbags because you'll just end up out of pocket. Now, there are many different scams out there that affect dive gear and anything else that you can buy secondhand. I don't have time to get into each and every single one of them now. So in the description below, I've put a link to a Business Insider article that describes the most common Facebook Marketplace offer-up scams, most of which could absolutely be applied to dive gear. Okay, so more specific then, let's ask about the usage history. Where have they been diving it? In what conditions? Saltwater, freshwater? Did they buy it new or did they buy it used? And if so, what was the history before they owned it? Have they done any work or modifications to the item that you're looking at? Why are they motivated to sell this item? Once you know the answers to those questions, you need to balance the life this piece of kit has already experienced versus the asking price and compare that to a brand new piece of kit and the asking price for that. Don't forget there's no warranty on used items. So how much of a good deal are you really getting? This should be your starting point for negotiations. When I do run a second-hand dive gear silent auction, I create a document that has a full history of my time with that piece of gear, full description of how many dives the item has had, in what conditions, and a really extensive description of what you're buying. The main reason is I don't want anyone to ever buy a piece of dive gear from me that is not fit for their purpose. The second-hand dive gear market is completely unregulated. You need to show a certification card to rent dive gear at a dive center, but not to buy dive gear, new in store, online, or second-hand. So I want to be a reputable seller. My personal standards are to be honest and transparent anytime I sell gear. I would never sell dive gear I knew to be problematic. This is life support equipment. But unfortunately, not everyone thinks the same. The more information you have whilst negotiating, the better, but of course, there's nothing to stop a less scrupulous person lying to you. Number 3, know what you are buying. I hate to bring this up again, but one of the major things that went wrong with the young lady who passed away up in Montana is that she bought a second-hand dry suit. Now, she had never dived a dry suit before. She didn't know that a dry suit needs an LPI hose. When you buy a new dry suit, like a new BCD, the inflator hose comes with it. Secondhand, this might not be the case, and in this instance, there was no hose. Does the person who sold the dry suit without the inflator hose have culpability? Probably. Should the instructor have noticed that there was no dry suit hose Absolutely. But the fact remains, if that person had bought a brand new dry suit, it would have come with a hose, and that issue would have been null and void. Let's hope. But the lesson that we can all learn from this is if you're buying used dive gear, you need to know what you're buying. So go to the original manufacturer's websites and look at what should be included. Make sure all the parts are present. Don't trust the seller to educate you on the thing they're trying to sell you. They don't know what you need. So make sure what you're buying is the right fit for you and the type of diving that you do. Number 4, shipping dive gear. Who's paying for the shipping, buyer or seller? How heavy is the piece of kit relative to the distance it needs to be shipped? Doing the maths, is this still a good deal? If the seller is willing to ship you gear, make sure you know how they're going to pack it and protect your items, and insist on getting tracking information. That's just common sense, of course. My recommendations would always be a safe face-to-face meetup for used dive gear transactions. I have bought cylinders secondhand, but only locally here in Florida. Why would I drastically increase the price of used cylinders by shipping them across the country, risking damaging them at the same time, when I can probably just buy new cylinders for the same price without shipping locally? I actually have a funny story about buying used cylinders. When I was starting Miami Technical Diving, I was on the hunt for cylinders and I didn't have a huge budget. So I see an ad online for a set of AL 80 doubles, manifold, cylinder bands in hydro, but they were out of VIP for a fair price, 300 bucks. I call the guy up, he's in West Palm Beach, which is about an hour and a half north of me. I tell him, look, don't sell them, I'm getting in my truck now, I'll be right there. I get up there, he explains to me he's not the diver, it's his sister-in-law's gear, she's not diving anymore, she asked him to sell it, it's been clogging up his garage, he wants it out of there. We do the deal, I'm loading the cylinders into my truck, he comes out of the garage with a large cardboard box, he's like, here, take this as well, I don't want it cluttering up anymore, get it out of here. So I look inside, and on top of the box there's like some scrunched up old newspaper, an old birthday card, and a sock. And there underneath lies an OMS bottom timer, a Shearwater Petro 1, an OMS DSMB and spool, 3 stage rigging kits, and 4 Apex first and second stage regulators with hoses. I got the regs serviced, and I still use them and other pieces of gear to this day. Best 300 bucks I ever spent on dive gear. Happy days. Which brings me to my next point. 5, absolutely get the gear serviced. If it's a BCD, regulator, cylinder, or computer you're buying, I would highly recommend that you expect to service the item upon receipt. Therefore, you should call around and ask your local service center how much a service is going to cost, parts and labor, and factor that into the cost of the purchase. In fact, let's look at those items a little more closely. So if it's BCDs and regulators, you need to get them serviced upon receiving and before diving them, so you absolutely know for certain when it was last done. No doubt about this at all. So factor this into your cost of purchase. I would still ask the seller when they last had their gear serviced and who serviced it, just so you've got a record of that, but absolutely get them serviced yourself so you know 100% for sure. For computers, I've bought second-hand Shearwaters before, absolutely. I don't necessarily send them for service right away. What I'll do is I'll test dive them as a backup computer for my primary for a handful of dives and let the used computer sort of earn my trust, so to speak. And if it's fine, we keep carrying on diving, and then I'll get it serviced when I get my other computers serviced. If you're buying used cylinders, well, there are 2 inspections that can help you know how the life of the cylinder has progressed. The visual inspection, performance, and the hydro testing, the hydrostatic testing. So are they within VIP and hydro inspection dates? If they've recently passed a VIP and a hydro, that's good enough for me. If not, then best practice would be to ask the seller to get them VIP'd and or hydroed, whatever is required, prior to the sale, and then I would offer to split the cost of those inspections upon the cylinders passing. That way, if the guy's trying to sell you some cruddy tanks and they don't pass inspection, you're not out of pocket for it. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped you. If it did, chuck us a like, please, if you learned something. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and share this video with your dive buddies. I'll be back next week. Dive safe, dive often.